Please be seated. Good morning. As president of Weber State University, I am pleased to welcome you on behalf of the faculty, staff, and governing boards to our 151st graduation celebration. The Weber State University Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Dr. Francisco de Galvez, performed the prelude and processional music. Seated on the platform are members of the Board of Trustees, Nolan Karras, Kirsten Kotrubas, Danielle Croyle, Carla Bergeson, Jeff Stevens, Scott Parson, and Don Salazar. Members of the Utah State Board of Regents, Jessilee Anderson, Marlon Jensen, and Bob Marquardt. And representing the Utah System of Higher Education is Commissioner David Buehler. Past honorary degree recipients, faculty, staff, and student body officers are seated on the floor. We would especially like to acknowledge our faculty and staff who are retiring this year. Thank you for your dedication and service to the university. We wish you well in your new endeavors. Let's please give them a round of applause. Welcome, graduates. At this commencement, you and I have something in common. After several years of learning, forging friendships, and growing at Weber State University, we are moving on to new adventures. It pleases me greatly to know that one of my final acts as Weber State's president will be celebrating your tremendous accomplishments. Congratulations on earning your degree. I'd like to take just a moment to introduce and acknowledge the person who will be interim president starting on Tuesday, Norm Tarbox. Norm, will you stand, please? Students arrive at Weber State for many reasons, but they always graduate as a better version of themselves. You now have a basic set of skills and a growing expertise. You are better equipped to solve complex problems. You can better imagine what the world looks like through someone else's eyes. Your confidence in navigating this world has likely blossomed. Maybe you had the opportunity to study abroad or participate in a community-engaged learning project, or had the opportunity to serve an internship in your respective field. You discovered that you could accomplish great things, and you will continue to accomplish great things. I would now like to take this opportunity to learn a little bit more about the class of 2018. Graduates, this is the interactive part of today's ceremony. Are you willing to help me out? Yeah? Okay. Graduates, please stand up if you are the first in your family to graduate from college. You may be seated, thank you. I've had the opportunity to say that 10 times now, and it just kills me every time. Thank you. Now, graduates, please stand if you have a job waiting for you, or if you're continuing in graduate or professional studies. Thank you. Please take your seats. Just one more. Graduates, please stand if you are a veteran of the armed forces or an active military member. Thank you for your service to our country. Please be seated. Congratulations to each of you and best wishes for your future success. Graduates, as we celebrate your accomplishments today, I would like to mention 3 faculty members who have transformed the lives of our graduating class and many others. They are recipients of the 2018 Brady Presidential Distinguished Professor Award, which is made possible by a generous gift from Rodney and Mitzi Brady. Rod served as president of Weber State College from 1978 to 1985, and he left a lasting impression on this institution. We would like to sincerely thank his wife, Mitzi, for continuing his legacy of support for Weber State University's faculty. The Brady Presidential Distinguished Professors for 2018 are Professor Dan Bedford, Professor Therese Grijalva, and Professor Cherie Josephson. I will formally recognize these worthy recipients during their respective convocations in the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, the Goddard School of Business and Economics, and the Talitha E. Lindquist College of Arts and Humanities. Let's give these wonderful professors another round of applause. You will soon have the opportunity to hear from Eric Gibson, one of our outstanding graduates of the 2018 class, who will deliver the student address. Following Eric's remarks, we will view a short video featuring fellow graduates. Nolan Karras, Chair of the Board of Trustees, will introduce this year's honorary degree recipients. Board of Trustees members and vice presidents will perform the hoodings and presentations of the honorary degrees to Dixie Lee Merrill Blackington, France Davis, Jill Parrish, and Sir Chris Bonington. Sir Chris will then provide our commencement address. He will be followed by a performance of the Weber State University Symphony Orchestra. As a graduate, double majoring in international business economics and literature with a minor in commercial German, Eric Gibson knows that a well-rounded education leads to a greater ability to change the world for the better. In fact, he hasn't waited until graduation to start benefiting his community. Currently, Eric works for Better City LLC, an economic development firm that helps communities develop and implement strategic plans to make those communities more recession resilient. In addition to continuing to work for that firm, Eric intends to apply to graduate school. His dream school would be the London School of Economics. A trip to Bremen, Germany, with the Goddard School of Business and Economics instilled a great love for Europe in Eric that he hopes to foster during graduate school. That trip also led to him being able to present research at state and national research conferences, as well as being accepted in Weber State's Ergo Journal. Eric is a member of the Student Economics Association and a member of the Beta Gamma Sigma Academic Honor Society. Ultimately, Eric would like to practice behavioral economics, where he can employ a mix of psychology and economic theory. Please help me welcome Eric Gibson.
Dear fellow students, all of you deserve applause, but I would assume that you really need a sigh of relief. Congratulations on this major accomplishment. As we come to the close of our formal education at Weber State, I have some final thoughts I would like to share with you. Unlike the employment-based knowledge that you've received from the lectures and textbooks, I wanted to talk with you this morning about a deeper, more important topic: happiness. This is a word that is hard to define and even harder to experience, save for a few fleeting moments. I had a unique education and will be receiving 2 very different degrees today. My first degree is in economics, and my second is in literature. Due to this dual major, I have learned about the world as if wearing two very different lenses. Economics taught me to analyze and optimize scarce resources, while literature allowed me to have empathy and to think critically. It is with these two lenses that I learned to perceive and think about the world. However, it was at the intersections of economics and literature that the greatest and most rewarding principles for my life have come to me. I would like to share my experiences in this regard and what they taught me about happiness. The first principle is diminishing marginal utility. For the economist, this term means that when we get more stuff, be it another house or car or dollar, we will increase our happiness, but at a diminishing rate. The same can be said of all our possessions. The more we have, the less we value each thing we own, and the less we enjoy receiving something new. The American author Henry David Thoreau also argued this principle when he wrote, "A man is rich in proportion to the number of things which he can afford to let alone." This doesn't mean that you shouldn't seek a well-paying job, you should, but what this principle means is that we should maximize our happiness, not the ownership of wealth. The second principle deals with time. For the economist, time is a special kind of resource. We can't do all the things we want, and doing one activity automatically means giving up another. What is weird about time in comparison to other forms of capital is that it cannot be saved or stored for future use. Once a minute has passed, it is gone forever. As a first semester college student, I took an English class on rhetorical writing. In the textbook, there was a picture of the two Greek gods of time. The first, Chronos, is the god of continual time, equal seconds, making equal days, making equal years. Chronos is this scarce resource. But the other god, Kairos, is the god of opportunity. It is through him that we achieve happiness. Kairotic time is how efficiently we use these fleeting moments. People who are happy don't have more time. They take more of these opportunities. Don't get so caught up in the day-to-day of your careers and responsibilities that you don't do the things that truly make you happy. Principle number 2 isn't about living a long life, but about living a fulfilling one. The final principle comes from the writer Lydia Marie Child, who, when writing of her experiences in New York, lamented, "Commerce comes between the soul and heaven." Child's words are a plea for us to not let our daily needs get in the way of others' happiness. Commerce is important, and we need it in this modern age, but our souls still seek a heaven. And heaven, that place where state is one is truly happy, it is desired of all human beings, not just you or me. In your endeavor for happiness, remember that there are others trying to do the same. Be aware of your own commerce, the demands you place on other people, and help others to be happy as well. An economy is built by thousands of individuals making self-interested decisions, but a society is something greater. A society requires that we care about and seek out each other's happiness, making decisions for the benefit of all. The third principle is, don't make happiness a personal affair. I would like to thank all of the professors, staff, and employees who have made Weber State a place of learning, curiosity, and happiness for me and my fellow students. Without this institution, I would not have been able to discover these principles which changed my life. I would also like to thank the friends and family members who have sacrificed so much to allow us to achieve this major accomplishment. To close, I would like to repeat my 3 principles. I hope that you will apply them in your own lives. Number 1, maximize happiness, not the ownership of wealth. Number 2, seek a full life, not a long one. And number 3, don't make happiness a personal affair. Congratulations on completing this step of your education. Best of luck to you in your future endeavors, be it education, employment, or other pursuits. But most of all, may you find happiness. Thank you.
Make your dream happen for me means taking control, accountability, and responsibility for your own education.
I think in order for your dreams to happen, it's a lot of hard work.
As your dreams start to come true, they evolve and you work more and have new dreams.
Making your dream happen makes it sound like it's something that ends, and I don't think a good dream ends. It should be making your dream keep happening.
My journey to Weber State is obviously an interesting one, considering that this is a commuter campus. I felt like, to some degree, I commuted here across the country. So I do three things at Weber State. I think first, I'm a graduate student. Secondly, I am an assistant debate coach. And thirdly, I am an adjunct professor. The 2013 National Debate Tournament that was held at Weber State University, my partner and I won that tournament. And so it's kind of like what really kicked off my professional coaching career. Weber State Debate is awesome. The tournament that we host for the college community is called the Mukai, and it's known as one of the most hospitable tournaments in the country simply because we put our hearts and souls on the line to make sure that everybody has a welcoming, holistic experience with Weber to truly try to make their dreams happen even though they're not registered as a student here.
When I moved to the United States in 2011, just right at the beginning of the semester, I got hacked and all my files on my computer got encrypted. And I kind of got mad at that, and I thought, I don't want to have this experience again. And so I went and looked for what major would teach me how to defend for those attacks, and I started in network management technology. The whole 4 years were hard for me because I have a family, my wife, my daughter that I have to support. So I was working full-time. Several of my classes, I was basically falling asleep, and I was trying to stay up and learn. And sometimes I just got my phone and record the class, and while I was working, I would listen to the lessons. I never thought about graduating from college. None of my family graduated from college. My dad and my mom, they just got through elementary school. I'm just so happy to show my family that things can be done if we put the effort to do it.
I'm a first-generation college student. I'm the first out of my brothers or my father to even graduate high school. When I was 16, my dad got in a motorcycle accident. His accident changed my life dramatically. He was always my role model growing up. Just his interests were my interests. He owned a gym as well, and so that was my dream, is owning a gym. But after his accident, it's a traumatic brain injury, so they take out like a fish-sized portion of his brain, and so he's changed substantially. I mean, we have to introduce ourselves every time we see him. But I've convinced him my middle name is Good Looking. So when he does remember, my name's Christopher Good Looking Martinez to him. Or if he's especially awake that day, it's Christopher Thinks He's Good Looking Martinez. I wanted to take care of my mom and my dad the way they took care of me. And in order to do that, I needed to get a degree and find a good job where I can provide for more than just my small little family with my wife and daughter. I'm proud of myself for graduating, but at this time, I've already been planning so much ahead that this just feels like a stepping stone. I just want to keep learning.
Well, I graduated from Weber State with my associates 25 years ago. I graduated with my RN and my associates in 1994, but I'd been in school for 4 years and I was just like ready to have a family. So I ended up having a family, and 25 years later, my daughter talked me into going back to school.
Going to school with my mom has been a very unique experience. I don't think most people get the opportunity to do that. Most of the time it's been a blessing. It's a little interesting to have your mom know all your homework, exactly when it's due. Instead of general nags, they're very specific nags, like, did you do this exact assignment? I don't know very many people that love their job as much as my mom does. She's been a nurse for 25 years, and I've only been a nurse for a year, so I think she has really good insight. When we have discussions in class, it's interesting to hear her talk like a smart nurse instead of just my mom.
Going to school with my mother-in-law and also my wife, it's really encouraging, and they've been really supportive. We can rely on one another whenever we need support or anything like that. So it's been good.
Yeah, and oftentimes they'll come over for Sunday dinner and we'll study.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for her for making me do this because I probably wouldn't have, even though it's something that I wanted to do, without her pushing me and saying, let's go. This is attainable for anyone. Like if I can come back after 25 years and do it, anyone can do it. And if it's something that you really desire and you want to do, go for it. I am grateful to Weber State for giving me that nursing degree so that I can be doing something that I love.
Graduated from Weber, that really makes my dream come true, that I have a major, that I have school, I have education, that I can teach my kids. I know that is the future of my family. It's going to be a good future.
Nothing can stop you if you want to do something. Weber State is here. It's close to where I needed to be, and did help me achieve the things I needed to. Everything was right here.
Weber State has been integral in making my dream happen for me by essentially providing a space by which I can be myself, pursue the type of education that I deem fit for myself, as well as encourage other students to join me in that particular journey.
Inspirational, and thank you. I just said to Chuck, you picked a wonderful profession. What a great transformation that takes place in people's lives as they come to a college, a university like Weber State. We will now proceed with the awarding of the honorary degree of Doctor of Humanities. This is the highest honor Weber State University confers upon an individual, and we are pleased to award such a degree today. President White, honored guests, distinguished faculty, it is my recommendation as chair of the Board of Trustees that the honorary degree of Doctor of Humanities be conferred upon Dixie Lee Merrill Blackington. Will Jeff Stevens and Don Salazar, members of the Board of Trustees, please escort her to the podium and assist in the hooding.
Dixie Lee Merrill Blackington is well known for her gift in teaching math in an understandable and exciting way for students. Miss Blackington began her teaching career at Highland Junior High in Ogden, Utah, before accepting a position at Weber State University to teach math. Much of Miss Blackington's career has focused on supporting education. She recruited to Weber State University her colleague and friend, Diane Pugmire, where together they taught prospective elementary teachers and created math endorsement programs for educators. Miss Blackington served on the Governor's Committee to review state mathematics curriculum. She was awarded the Hemingway Faculty Development Award, the Spencer L. Seeger Distinguished Teacher Award, and the Muffet Reeves Award for Outstanding Achievement in Mathematics Professional Development. Weber State University is pleased to recognize Dixie Blackington with a Doctor of Humanities honorary degree.
For her dedication to education of others and her commitment to fellow educators, the Board of Trustees and President Charles A. White, on behalf of Weber State University, confer upon Dixie Lee Blackington the degree of Doctor of Humanities. I've got this big plaque to give you. President White, honored guests, distinguished faculty, it is my recommendation as the chair of the Board of Trustees that the honorary degree of Doctor of Humanities be conferred upon my good friend France Davis. Will Scott Parson, member of the Board of Trustees, and Forrest Crawford, please escort him to the podium and assist in the hooding.
The Reverend France A. Davis has dedicated his life to fostering faith, service, education, and understanding in Utah and beyond. A former Tuskegee Institute attendee and jet mechanic for the Air Force, Reverend Davis came to Salt Lake City in 1972 as a teaching fellow and graduate student. He continued his education, earning several degrees from institutions such as Merritt College, Laney College, UC Berkeley, Westminster College, and the University of Utah. Since 1974, Reverend Davis has served as pastor of the historic Calvary Baptist Church and has lectured widely on cultural and religious topics. He has also served as vice president of the National Baptist Congress of Christian Education. Reverend Davis served on the Utah State Board of Regents from 2008 to 2017. In addition to the honorary doctorate from Weber State University, he has received 4 other honorary doctorates. Scholarship programs at 5 educational institutions honor Reverend Davis and his contributions. Weber State University is pleased to recognize Reverend France A. Davis with a Doctor of Humanities honorary degree.
For his contribution to service, philanthropy, and understanding in Utah and beyond, the Board of Trustees and President Charles A. White confer upon France Davis the degree of Doctor of Humanities. And this is a great human being. President White, honored guests, distinguished faculty, it is my recommendation as the chair of the Board of Trustees that the honorary degree of Doctor of Humanities be conferred upon Jill N. Parrish. Will Carla Bergeson and Danielle Croyle, members of the Board of Trustees, please escort her to the podium and assist in the hooding.
Weber State University alumna Judge Jill N. Parrish has dedicated her life to justice, having served the citizens of Utah at federal and state levels and in private practice. Judge Parrish was born and raised in Ogden, Utah, and was valedictorian at Ogden High School. Judge Parrish received her political science and communication degree from Weber State College, where she was honored as outstanding graduate in humanities and social science. After graduating from Yale Law School, Judge Parrish returned to Utah to enter private practice with a focus on commercial litigation. In 2003, Judge Parrish was appointed to the Utah Supreme Court, during which time she served as a member of the Utah Judicial Council, chair of the Supreme Court Committee on Professionalism and Civility, and chair of the State Law Library Committee. In 2014, President Barack Obama nominated her to serve on the United States District Court for the District of Utah. The United States Senate confirmed her appointment by a vote of 100-0. She was sworn in on August 17, 2015. Weber State University is pleased to recognize Judge Jill N. Parrish with a Doctor of Humanities honorary degree.
In recognition of her dedication to law, justice, and the citizens of Utah, and besides she's from Ogden, the Board of Trustees and President Charles A. White, on behalf of the Weber State University, confer upon Jill Parrish the degree of Doctor of Humanities. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. President White, honored guest, distinguished faculty, it is my recommendation as the chair of the Board of Trustees, the honorary degree of Doctor of Humanities be conferred upon Chris Bonington. Will Kirsten Katrubis, Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees, and Brent Perazzi, Vice President of Weber State, please escort him to the podium and assist in the hooding.
Celebrated British mountaineer, writer, photographer, and lecturer, Sir Christian Bonington has lived a life of exploration and has inspired others to do the same. Born in Hampstead, London, Sir Chris began climbing in 1951 at the age of 16. His adventurous spirit led Sir Chris to 19 Himalayan expeditions, including to Mount Everest. In 1975, he led the British Everest Southwest Face expedition, the first to successfully climb the mountain by ascending one of its faces. Sir Chris's accomplishments include the first British ascent of the North Wall of the Eiger, the first ascent of Annapurna II, and leading the expedition to first ascend the south face of Annapurna. In 1985, he summited Everest at the age of 50. Sir Chris has been president of the UK's Council for National Parks, president of the British Mountaineering Council, and president of the Alpine Club. He currently is the Chancellor's Ambassador for Lancaster University. As the author of 17 books, Sir Chris has been featured on many television programs and has lectured around the world. In 1996, he was knighted for his services to mountaineering. Weber State University is pleased to recognize Sir Christian Bonington with a Doctor of Humanities honorary degree.
In recognition of his adventurous and exploratory spirit, for his pioneering service to mankind, the Board of Trustees and President Charles A. White, on behalf of Weber State University, confer upon Chris Bonington the degree of Doctor of Humanities. Congratulations. We've got a big plaque over there for you to get behind. I'm pleased to introduce to you now Sir Chris Bonington as your commencement speaker. Chris.
President White, members of the Board of Regents and Trustees, faculty and students. I'd like to start by thanking the University on behalf of my fellow award winners and honorary graduates for the great honour you have bestowed upon us. I'd also like to congratulate you, I've lost my place. You, my fellow graduates, and you're the guys who've done all the work as well, whereas we've just come up and got a lovely award, on the hard work and effort you've put in getting your very well-earned degrees. And we mustn't forget your families, friends, families, who I know have helped you so much in actually getting here. I've got a very special thanks, though, for my dear friends of nearly 30 years, Professor Mike Verse and his wife Janet. It's Mike who wrote to me out of the blue 30 years ago, asking me for an interview to help with some research he was carrying out for the university. He found our little cottage that nestles on the side of High Pike, a beautiful Lake District hill. It was a lovely sunny day, and in those days I tried to get out climbing most days of the week, wherever I was in the world. And it was a lovely day, so I asked Mike if he actually fancied to have a climb. He said he did a bit of climbing. He most certainly did, and we drove across to Borrowdale, one of the most lovely valleys in the Lake District, to do our first climb together. And from that, really, a lifelong relationship and friendship progressed. And the next year, Mike invited me to speak at a wilderness conference he had organized, and I had my first taste of this great university and the wealth of superb climbing on your doorstep. Since then, I've had many visits to Weber State and many great adventures that included 3 first ascents of the superb quartzite 1,000-foot cliff of the west face of Lewis Peak, which is just up the road there, and you can see very clearly from the road. And nobody had ever even bothered to attempt it because they all thought it was too far to walk, and also it didn't look terribly steep anyway. It was actually absolutely magnificent and a great fun climb. It was also dramatic getting down it. I was racing down myself, took a jump and nearly landed on a very large, sleepy rattlesnake. I just avoided it. I also made another route on the same crag with my fellow award winner, British climber Dan Bedford. And anyway, we called this climb Brandywine, which was after one of the very few battles that the British won in the American War of Independence. We lost most of them, I'm glad to say. And then Mike has been over to England on many occasions as well, usually with a bunch of students from here, and I always had the great pleasure of chatting to them, talking to them, and we nearly always get in the climb as well at the same time. But anyway, I'd better get down to the real business of today. And I believe that life should really be a constant process of exploration, which starts, in fact, from the very day we are born, or even earlier, with the genes that we've inherited. And on the way, there are constant choices we have to make, because we're influenced by the environment in which we are living, the situation of our parents, the kind of upbringing they're giving us, situations that are completely beyond our control. But we still have choices. We can also be constantly inspired, or I am, when I've seen friends of mine who've had really severe injuries, have become paraplegics, have lost their hands and feet through frostbite. And through that terrible process, that life-changing process, they've actually raised into a greater performance. They're doing things probably, they'd have had successful lives anyway, but they became from very successful to being very great people in the best kind of way. But you students here, and what has impressed me, I was Chancellor of a university in England for 10 years. The Chancellor had a very nice job because it was just a ceremonial position. You didn't have to make any decisions. But I've lost my place. I lost what I was going to say. No, I shouldn't go for my text. The thing I was going to say really was how different, yes, you are from many of our universities in England. And it's actually, I almost think I hadn't prepared the right thoughts in my mind, in the sense that practically all our undergraduates were straight out of school. And yes, there were a few mature students as well. So they were on the very start of their careers and their lives. Whereas you have been, and it's fascinating to me, yes, you have pursued education, you've pursued this search for greater knowledge, and to progress your own lives. And I was just so impressed by what Chuck White had to say, and when he got you all standing up, the amount you've done, the way you've gone through it, and the maturity that you have as well. And it really did, it really blew my mind. And I was going to think that an awful lot of the students that I met who came across the stage when they were graduated, they hadn't got the faintest idea what they were going to do when they'd finished university. And they'd had, as I think I regarded when I wanted to go to university, it was just a nice 3 years to actually get in lots of climbing and delay the actual awful moment when you actually had to start earning a living. Whereas I think most of you have, yes, you're on a path, and you might be wanting to change things, you might want to do things, and this is where I so empathized with the first speaker, that yes, happiness is so important. And to me, when the job you do, when you go and the job you are doing, that takes up an awful lot of your life. And therefore, it is something that you should love doing. It's not just a matter, it is being happy, but it's more than that. I think it's a matter of having a passion for the work you're doing, the role you're in, whichever it is. But it doesn't always work out. And I think, therefore, if something isn't working, you've always got to be prepared to change and never be afraid to change a role. Sometimes it can be very difficult, very challenging. But the important thing is to have that sense of fulfillment, of which happiness, and that brings happiness, but it's fulfillment and passion in the things you do in life. And I know the thing for me was that I tried all kinds of different things. I discovered climbing when I was the age of 16. And at that age, I knew that was the thing I loved doing more than anything that I'd ever tried to do. But I couldn't imagine making a living out of it. And I spent about 15 years trying various things. I'd gone into the services. I even tried to go into business. But I wasn't fulfilled. And I think it was primarily because, A, my love of climbing, and the thing that finally got me out, I finally actually, by forces of circumstances in my life, I actually did a climb that got a lot of publicity when I climbed the North Wall of the Eiger. I was the first Briton to do it. And suddenly, I could actually make a living around the thing I passionately loved doing. But my work, in actual fact, was not climbing. The climbing was a hobby. My work was actually to be a writer, to lecture, to take photographs. And I found then I was getting huge satisfaction from a whole series of work and professional jobs. And I think that's what gave me great fulfillment as well. I think it's like, that was a diversion. The trouble is, actually, the great thing is when you've got a written speech, you can bounce around. And I think now, but I think, yes, I'll get back to my course. I think, yes, every single one of you are, in fact, we are all leaders. Every single person in this room is a leader. And leadership in our society, in any society, is so important. Leadership within a family is so important. The challenge is to try to get it right. So what I'd like to do is really briefly describe some of the things that I've discovered, particularly in organizing large expeditions and taking large groups of people into the mountains to try to climb a mountain. And as I see it, it all really starts with having a very clear vision of what you want to achieve. On a mountain, it's very simple. You want to get to the top of the mountain and hopefully not lose anyone on the way. I know in life, the decisions can be more complicated, and corporations and businesses they can be more complicated. But in actual fact, you can usually define it down to a single clear vision, and the other parts of it are all part of it. You need then, once you've got your decision, what you want to do, You need a good and very carefully thought out and yet flexible plan to actually achieve that objective. And once you have that, you can then work out, as a climber, I suppose this is simpler once again, but it's probably the same in the business, you can work out exactly the size of the team that you actually are going to have, the kind of people, the kind of skills you're going to need within that climbing team. You need some brilliant, ambitious climbers who hopefully will make the push to the summit. And then you need to support them and be with them, very capable climbers as well, who will willingly accept a support role, who will actually sacrifice their chance of getting to the top to get someone else there as well. And then you need the right specialists as well. You need a very good expedition doctor. You need a very good base camp manager, a guy who sits at base camp all the time, but he's actually pushing stuff up the mountain, getting all the stuff packed and everything else. He's a brilliant organizer, but he needs to be a person who's absolutely happy in that role and isn't itching to get onto the mountain and climbing it. And then, of course, you also need the Sherpa, if you're having a large expedition, the Sherpa high-altitude Sherpas, and you need to choose the right team and get the very best you can. It's also important to realize that as a leader of the expedition, your role is actually to make the team successful, to actually get someone to the top of that mountain. And the kind of leader whose total ambition is to get himself or herself to the top of the mountain and use everyone else to get there, that is not a leader's role. And exactly the same thing, I think, in any kind of business. It's the same in school, university. The leader who wants to be out in front the whole time and get all the praise, that's not leadership. Good leadership is the person who is actually pushing other people forward. It's also important, I think, right the way through to involve your team in the decision-making process. And it's also from that, so they need to be involved. You have the vision, but then you need to share that vision. And even in the planning process, people come up with other ideas. A good leader is a very good listener. And a good leader as well is someone who's got the self-confidence when someone comes up with a miles better idea than he has to adopt it with enthusiasm and promote it. And yet at the same time, there's a subtle balance in any kind of leadership, family or whatever it is, balancing that consulting people, listening to people, and at the same time, you need to have your eye on the overall picture, on the vision that you have and that the team corporately has agreed upon. And at times, you've got to make a firm decision and say, this is what we're going to do. And equally, sometimes as leader, I have been as leader of an expedition, you're going to be in the minority. But at a certain point, if you know and you believe it's right, you've got to say, this is what we're going to do. And the other thing, I think, the good leader is a person of total integrity. And it means that if anyone wants to, or it's in life, in expeditions, I know, it's very easy to take the easy course out. And that is where you as the leader say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep it right. And I think from that point of view as well, once again, that there's a subtle difference between, or a conflict between the desire for democracy and leadership. And I think, in fact, you can't have an expedition, certainly, and I think you can't have quite a lot of businesses run by committees. You've actually got to have someone who is the leader and who actually makes those clear decisions as well. And finally, I think, yes, the leader needs to be the person who can actually inspire his team. And by actually making good decisions as well, he's got the natural respect of the expedition. And even if you're in a hierarchic situation, the leader who leads by fear and drive, it's ineffective. You've got to, I think, have a leader who is respected, and can then, the team will actually follow him. And I think the final thing is, and I know one of the interesting when I'm talking about this, I feel as I talk that yes, here Weber State, this is what you are doing, that you have got this kind of culture within the organization. I think this is what makes this such a great organization as well. And the other final thing that I was going to say, and I think I'm sure this is the feeling, everyone within an expedition, from the kind of the humble kitchen boy who's washing up the dishes to the guy who's hopefully going to go to the top of the mountain, they're all absolutely equally important as human beings and need that kind of respect. I didn't actually go to the top of the South Face of Annapurna or the Southwest Face of Everest, which were the two greatest expeditions that I've actually led. And it was simply because I'd have liked to have gone to the top. In each of those expeditions, I actually had put myself into perhaps the third summit bid if there was a chance. But once again, it's so important for a leader, I think, to actually be thinking of the team, the group as a whole, and not of his own personal ambition. And the other thing I learned in my climbing career, but I think it's a life thing as well, I don't think you should ever be afraid of failure. In fact, I don't believe in the word failure. All of us have setbacks. Sometimes we have absolutely huge setbacks, traumatic setbacks in our lives. On expeditions, I've had setbacks. We've failed to get up a mountain. But in that process, we've actually learned a huge amount. So that every setback, in fact, is a kind of a learning function, an essential learning function. If an expedition is always successful, if a climber is always successful, he becomes complacent. If a company or an organization becomes successful, and they're always successful, they're the best, they become complacent, and they sometimes fail. So I hope, well, those ideas are of some use. I think they're all things that I think help to it. There's so many different ways you can go about leading, but I think those are the core things that really do help. And as I've said, what impressed me, I think Weber State has all those things very much at heart. And I think that's what makes this such an incredibly impressive university. And I say, I mean, you might think, say it about everywhere, but I don't. My mind's been blown by just what a great place this is. And so I think really it's now all that remains really is to, firstly, I'd like to actually, wish Chuck, where is he? Behind me. I think the very, very best of good fortune in his new role when he leaves you. And I've seen that, yes, he's been a really great leader. And I think that Salisbury University have had a great benefit in having him, and I think we have had a great loss in losing him. And I think he's a person that's done a huge amount for us. But most important of all, I'd like to wish you, the graduates, who just now have, when I'd originally planned this, I said emerging on a new life, but you're not, because you're right into life already. But I would just like to wish you the very, very best of good fortune, and also happiness and huge satisfaction in what you're doing. It's been a great, great honor to be here, and I feel very moved by it. Thank you.
Thank you, Weber State Symphony Orchestra, for that tribute to Henry Mancini, and thank you, Sir Chris, for your inspirational words about leadership and happiness. We will now proceed with the presentation of candidates for graduation by Provost Madon Miner.
Will the candidates receiving an associate's degree please rise? In purple. Will the candidates receiving a bachelor's degree please rise? And will the candidates receiving a master's degree please rise? President White, as Provost of Weber State University, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to present these candidates who have completed all requirements of the certificates and degrees indicated in the program of the day, are deemed worthy of this distinction.
Thank you, Madon. In the name of Weber State University, upon the recommendation of its faculty and by the authority of the Utah State Board of Regents, I hereby confer upon each of you the appropriate degree and certificate indicated in the program of the day. As a symbol of your achievement, will all of the graduates please move the tassels from the right side of their caps to the left side. Graduates, although the journey you have taken has been a transformative one thing has remained constant: the support that you have received. Your graduation today is a personal achievement, but one that would not have been possible without the family, friends, faculty, staff, and many others who supported you. Graduates, let's give those who supported you a round of applause. Thank you. You may be seated. You will now hear from Danielle Croyle, President of the Weber State University Alumni Association.
On behalf of the Weber State Alumni Association, we'd like to congratulate all the graduates here today. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters compared to what lies within us." The late-night cram sessions, papers, projects, energy drinks, and endurance has brought you to this place of desired achievement. You are unstoppable, not because you didn't have any doubts or setbacks, but because you continued to persist in challenging circumstances. By believing in yourself and remembering you can do hard things has brought you to today. One of the commencement traditions here at Weber State is for the president of the Alumni Association to request all alumni to stand. All alumni, we invite you at this time to stand. Anyone that's graduated from Weber State. That includes all of you, too, that just graduated. One more time. You may be seated. Thank you for being here and supporting. We applaud you all. For over 25 years, this institution has been a place where goals have been met and dreams have come true. It has been a place where your potential has been unlocked. It has been a place that taught you how to live and how to make a living. What an impressive group to be associated with. You are now a part of the Weber State legacy. Embrace this moment. Celebrate your success. This milestone is a great accomplishment. For those who have been part of your journey, remember to thank them and celebrate where this all happened. Your alma mater, Weber State University. The Weber State Alumni Association would like you to be part of our continued legacy. We continue to recognize alumnus. We want you to be part of the success of our alumni. Whether you're a player for the NBA, a second place finisher in the Boston Marathon, a Weber State professor, we want to celebrate and continue your success. Our alumni are impacting others throughout the world. As part of the Alumni Association, we will keep you connected with Weber State University. Always remember where you came from and where you are going. As one door closes, another door opens. This is just the beginning of anything you want. Congratulations, graduates. You are now forever a Wildcat.
Thank you, Danielle. We appreciate everyone who planned, organized, and participated in today's commencement ceremony. Now, would you please join the Weber State University Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Francisco de Galvez, and student vocalist Caitlin Hipwell in singing our school song, Purple and White. The music and words are printed inside the back cover of the program. The recessional by the graduates will then conclude this spring commencement exercises. The audience, platform guests, and faculty should remain standing during the recessional. Please rise for our school song, Purple and White. Unfortunately, Caitlin is not with us. I'm not sure why. So the orchestra is going to play, and everybody's going to have to sing very loud.